Up from the ashes grow the roses of success. That is a very famous line. If any of you have ever watched the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, that is one thing I have taken to heart and used in my life all over the place. And it wasn't something that somebody drilled into my brain. I heard it once and it stuck and I thought about it. And, everything that I do, if I have ever failed at it, I understand that is a lesson. There's something there. The ashes are the lesson that I can move on with and use to succeed in the next time I try to do it. I'm going to try to do it better. All in all of the ways, in all the aspects. So what am I talking about there? This unit here that I made, that was a prototype. It was over-engineered. It didn't achieve the desired purpose that I wanted it to do. I mean, it did make biofuel that I could put in my truck and roll down the road that was good for the environment, and it was cheap. Cheaper than buying diesel from the gas pump, and it was better quality. How did it fail? Okay, I designed it so that it could roll out into my driveway next to my truck. I would plug it in or some other means apply energy to it, and it would pump the fuel directly into my vehicle. And then when I was done, I could move it back into the garage and it would be stationary and processed fuel and good. This piece of machinery that I built did not achieve that goal. It's not movable because, it is movable, but I have to shove it. The wheels don't roll. The frame is not well built. I wasn't very big into carpentry when I started doing this. I just used nails and then I tried to fix it with a couple screws, and the wood isn't thick enough. It's not built correctly. It'll fall apart and dump oil everywhere, and that's not what I want. The flow rate, that was a big fail. It didn't push enough fluid to go, if I did get it out next to my truck and I did apply the energy to it, it wouldn't have pumped into the truck fast enough for me, to make it worth it. Again, I said like the higher flow rate that I achieved was like 1 gallon an hour, and that's not anything that anybody wants to deal with. You can't leave this outside for multiple, like 5 hours. I would, just for 5 gallons, it might rain in that time. You might forget about it. And I did. One time I forgot while I was filling, and I went to work and there was just oil all over the floor, and nobody wants that. Pumping. It didn't pump. The washing machine motor pump that I took out and put on there and wasted all that time and energy and money to try and set up, it didn't work. So that failure led me to do some more research on, what was absolutely necessary. What did I need? What didn't I need? And so I did that. I did all the research and I figured out exactly what I needed. And so I'm taking my prototype, my failure, and I'm revamping it. And I'm going to put it on this new unit. So why am I doing that? All right. Okay. So again, it was over-engineered. I consider it a failure. It's an embarrassment to the things that I do. It didn't work right. But it was a prototype. It was an experiment, and that's good. So I'm moving this stuff. I'm moving it onto there. I'm taking out the unnecessary components, keeping the necessary components, and then I will have a unit that is better, more compact as far as floor space goes, because that's very important in a small workshop, If you're going to get a place, especially if you're renting, like I mostly have to do because I move around a lot because of the Navy, to get a garage, it's expensive in some places. I came from Connecticut, and it's very expensive. If you want a house with a garage, you're going to get a very, very tiny one-car garage that barely fits a small compact car. And, for two, you're going to pay a ridiculous amount of money for that. I'm lucky now that I'm down here in Georgia that I'm, you know, the cost of living is cheaper. You get more house for your money, and that's good. So this isn't as big of a deal, but I would still like to maximize my efficiency of my space. So this is, you know, a much better use of floor space that it has to be on for this type of thing. So with this next one, I am going to achieve the goal that I want. Absolutely. I thought about my goals. I recognized that I failed them and realized how I failed them, and I'm correcting it for this unit, this upgraded prototype. So even this is a prototype. I'm going to call this prototype, not my final unit. You know, I could do better on what I'm going to do on this, but it works. It's going to work, guaranteed, because I've learned everything over here, and I'm applying it over here, and I know what is good and what is not. And, you know, it's going to achieve all of the goals. And then once you have achieved your goals, always improve on your goals. Don't ever accept, you know, achievement of goals as the final, you know, that's it solution. Take it a step further. Ask yourself, how can I make it better? You know, list those steps to how you can make it better, and knock them out one by one. You know, don't take them on all at once unless you can. You know, by all means, faster can sometimes be better, but knock them out one at a time, get them done, and, you know, be motivated, be confident that you have this knowledge, and take that knowledge and run with it. So, all right, so this is what I'm doing here. I said you guys might not have understood in the last video of what I was talking about. This is the pumping tower. It's going to be clamped onto this strut here, this frame piece, 4x4, and, you know, air is going to go on top. It's going to push that out. Once it goes through there, probably I'm going to put a strainer on the outlet here between there and there. I'll probably put a strainer to get the big particles, because sometimes you have things that are going to float in your sludge, in your oil mixture, that aren't going to settle out. They're going to be like pieces of breading or something from the fryer that just don't, no matter what you want to do, they don't want to settle and go to the bottom. So it is important to have a strainer. And if you're going to build a pumping unit like this, not like it's going to get caught in there, you know, but I don't want to get it dirty. These valves potentially could foul up, and I don't want to risk that. So I'll put a strainer in there for big particulates specifically, and to catch, I'll make a low point to catch water that I can drain out. I'll probably make it out of PVC. I saw some and thought about some pretty decent ideas to use, you know, things like this 45-degree coupler or connection right there, you know, to make pretty much following the same principle as what this is. And I'll show you guys how that's built when I change out the filter media. I'll make a little video about that. I'll show you how this is built, and the strainer that I'm going to put between those two is pretty much going to be built the same way as this. It'll be like that, and a filter dealy, and then another one. So it'll make like a 45-degree Z angle thingy. Might mount that right there. I don't know. That's what's going to be from there through the strainer into there, into the pumping tower. And then once it goes through the pumping tower, it's going to go through the wood strainer, filter thingy, moisture separator, ethanol eater, and then through the whole house filter, and then out. And that is it. That's all I'm going to do. Again, we're going to get rid of the settling tower, even though, and I'll show you very shortly, it turned out to be a really good idea. And other good ideas, talking about learning and, you know, from the ashes grow the roses of success. The pole strainer thing that I thought was completely ridiculous and stupid, I took the opportunity when I was tearing this old unit down to analyze what was going on inside the system as I was pulling it apart. And it turns out that stupid, ridiculous sock filter pole strainer thing that I built that broke and failed, it was actually doing something. It was collecting larger particles, and it was getting, you know, a major amount of sludge and sitting it right there in the bottom. The whole upflow thing concept, it was correct. It did work. Is it easily usable on a day-to-day? Can I, you know, drain it out and all that stuff? No, I wouldn't use that design again. I'm not going to use that design again. That design was horrible, but I'm going to make something that achieves the same effect in that same spot, you know, to protect my pumping thing and everything downstream to get the major particles that I can easily work with. So it wasn't an absolute failure. It was a success in a failure in that I learned what is good and what is not good. The settling tower was definitely a good idea. It worked really well. And I'm going to show you, okay, so this is the bottom. This is the test plugs that I was telling you about. Let's get a good focus on there. Okay, so there's a little wing nut. You can see that if you tighten it, it squishes a O-ring that goes around there into the side. This is the most expensive test plug you can buy at Lowe's. And, you know, the most technologically advanced, I guess you would say, and the highest pressure rating, because you can make it nice and tight and it'll stay in there. I don't know if it'll do the full pressure of what the PVC pipe is rated, and definitely don't stand in front of it if you're going to put it at high pressure, because it could shoot out and hit you and hurt you. So this guy is the drain valve that I had to get all the sludge out. You can see in here, it's dirty, gross, black, thick sludge, and I had drained this before, and this is the extra stuff that drained. I had kind of like, it looked like little styrofoam balls of like glycerin and fats, and then just a soupy black sludge around that came out of there. And I collected it, and you know, I can use it for fire starters, or if I didn't have motor oil in it, I could use it, you know, for making soap. It's pretty much glycerin, like heavy, fatty glycerin. You can use it for soap, weed removal in your yard, all kinds of things. You know, look it up online. I'm not going to waste this video time talking about that, but it's definitely useful. Don't just toss it in your garbage can, even though you can. If you don't feel like doing all those other things, you can do it. But you know, there's plenty other uses for it. So that's the settler tower. That was a great idea. And I'm going to show you the difference, because I did take some samples between settled and unsettled when I was taking this tower out that I did notice. Okay, so when I was taking this off, there was still some oil in this spillover tube on the top. You know, it went across the top and spilled over down in that downcoming region. There was still some oil in there. And when I was taking it apart, because I couldn't lift it up because of the sealing, some of it started to spill out, and I noticed how beautifully like clean and amber it was. You know, there wasn't anything in it, and I knew that on the bottom there was just black, gross sludge coming out. So here's a sample of the difference on this paper towel. Again, it's like a day or two old, but I wiped up, this is the clean oil, and I wiped it up off the floor. Because I couldn't catch it in something to show you guys the oil, but you can see this is the white part of the paper towel, and this is how clean the oil was at the top of that settling tower that would go back into my unit. And then this is a sample of the stuff that comes off the bottom. You know, it's very sticky, very sludgy stuff. It's going to last a while. Essentially it's axle grease, but a little bit lighter. You could use it to grease things. I mean, absolutely, you can use it to grease all kinds of things, whatever you want. Just don't eat off of it. And then this stuff, you know, that's the difference. Just in settling, that's what you can get. Again, that stuff was settled for a long time, but if you can have like a long-term settling storage bank to feed your unit, you'll be much better off when you take from that long-term settling unit. While you're doing this, you won't have to work your processing unit as hard. So definitely make something like that. I've seen and heard of designs made out of, you know, 55-gallon drums, all kinds of things, and that's much more capacity than this. This was just designed to take all of the drippings and the drainage and to recirculate it and put it right back in. And it really wasn't worth the money or the time that I spent on it to do that purpose, except that, you know, it is worth it now that I figured out I don't need to spend this much money to settle it. It's much easier to just dump it all in one giant barrel, you know, come back to that barrel, take the stuff off the top that I need, and then put it in here. And then if everything comes off of it, I'll put it back in that barrel, and by the time I need the barrel again, it's going to be settled sufficiently enough to make this nice clean oil that's going to go into the system, and then my system won't have to work as hard. I won't have to do as much maintenance on it. What else do I want to say about this? I think that was pretty much it for now. I'm going to do a bunch of more videos on this topic. You know, I thought about it after watching and reviewing the first video. There's a lot more topics I can cover, like, you know, why blend versus, you know, do the chemical conversion of biodiesel. What can you do besides that to make biodiesel? You know, there's things like pyrolysis of plastic to make plastic oil, which it's diesel, and you know, otherwise it would be floating down a stream into the ocean, killing fishes and all kinds of stuff. You know, there's all kinds of ways that you can do biofuel and, you know, use it in a diesel engine. I really think that, you know, gasoline engines are dead unless we find some way to make biogasoline out of biodiesel, which is absolutely plausible, I'm pretty sure, and I'll explain to you why, you know, when we talk about that whole thing. You know, I don't feel like we should be digging this stuff out of the ground anymore. There's no reason to be piping oil out of the ground. We have all of this available at our fingertips. We're using it to cook our food. You know, coconut oil we're putting in our skin and stuff. You know, it's everywhere. We have oils and hydrocarbons and things that are made out of those that, you know, came from this earth today. We don't need to be doing dinosaur oil that's trapped in a rock somewhere. This is a much better idea. I think we should work on it, and I'm going to show you guys how, at least what I know about it, and you know, I've done some pretty thorough research. I'm going to show you guys those things, teach you guys those things, and hopefully all you diesel engine drivers out there, you know, will take it, learn from it, rise up from the ashes, grow your own roses of success, and, you know, go about changing the world for the better, because that's why I'm doing what I do. I want to give you guys the knowledge that I have worked hard to find out and learn so that you can use it and prosper and spread it. And so for the good of humanity, we can all do just a little bit better. Thank you. That's all for this video. Have an outstanding day.